If this is your first time in the Hive, this is a contrarian thinking live stream. We are not afraid to think past the headlines. So if you're easily rattled or offended on behalf of others, this is not going to be the stream for you. However, if you'd like to look past the mainstream media's headlines, you see through their BS, and you like to, quote, be the conspiracy theorist in your friend group, you are now amongst friends and you have found your people. So thank you for tuning in this evening. To everybody that tuned in earlier this morning to George Webb, thank you. I know that it was a cross-streamed live, but that was the Hive Mind's biggest stream that we've ever had. We had almost 7,000 people watching. What we're going to be diving into tonight, because I did talk about the Charlie Kirk assassination this morning, and as of yesterday, there was a third batch of the ISP photos dropped. I believe it was the third batch. I have not looked through them in detail, so we're going to be getting into that tonight. I have some interesting Hive Mind finds surrounding the 911 call, of all things, to continue to dive into. It's just very interesting. And there's also been 7 filings in 4 days in a rapid manner. Lots of urgency, no transparency. It's quite the theme, isn't it? To quick plug the channel, as Nicole did just give a super chat. All of my streams are free. All that I ask is that when you go to my channel, you just hit that subscribe button. And for the other apps like TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, the next time that you're on that app, just type in Birdie and hit follow or hit like, whatever the app would need, as that does help the algorithm. Those are all newer profiles, so getting those numbers up would be nice and helpful. And then I have some new merch coming on birdiebombshell.com, which that will be nice. That will allow me to continue to grow the stream, keep the streams free, and you guys will get something in return. This is the first time I've ever done this, but I'm actually going to let a video ask all of the Hive the question of the day. I thought this was funny.
If your friends and family members don't think that you're absolutely psychotic, tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist lunatic, are you even awake?
And I don't know about you guys, but I can absolutely relate to all of that. And I don't know if my friends and family would say that I'm absolutely a psychotic lunatic. It's always interesting because I don't know how I feel about this. And if you're self-aware, which I would guess most people in here are, seeming how you look into stuff like this, have you ever had a situation where you are talking about a subject that you've researched and you've looked into more than whoever asked you the question? For example, let's talk Idaho 4, because we're talking that tonight. We've looked into that at lengths, like hours and hours. And when somebody were to ask you, if somebody were to ask you rather, so you think Brian Koberger is innocent, and you start laying out facts and they kind of give you that chuckle, you know, like the little like, and they kind of look around because they don't know what to say. Either they're trying to like set you up and make you feel dumb, but you're so used to already feeling like everybody else is just unable to think that it doesn't bother you, but they do it in a way where they laugh and they think it's funny and they're not even actually listening. That seems to be a very common experience that I've had amongst really good friends, and it's not knocking them. It's just that they don't know what to do. They think you're going to shout out some random crazy conspiracy, but then you're like, well, according to the court documents that are all sealed and redacted, and the judge referenced national security, and that they have not shown any pictures of the bodies. There's, really nothing that we've seen. We haven't even found the knife sheath or seen it, at least. I don't even know if it exists. The roommate waited 8 hours to call 911. The timeline is that of a Jason Bourne timeline. They just kind of are like, they don't know what to do. It's uncomfortable for everybody that's listening to that, including the person who asked it. But it's not uncomfortable for you when you answer it. If anything, there's like a sense of power. There's a sense of pride. They're like, ask me anything. Because if you say something that does fit in with an effed up timeline or complete garbage narratives and headlines surrounding it, I would agree with you. I would say, yeah, you're right. That doesn't make sense. I wouldn't die on the hill of something that is in the mainstream that I'm also agreeing with. Now, those things are few and far in between. But if you were to say, do you think that that's Brian Koberger's car on camera leaving the house? And you tried to explain to them that it was an off, or not an off duty. It was a plainclothed police officer that was undercover looking for open intoxicants in a Ford Fusion hybrid that's silver. And due to the infrared lights and the camera settings on a Ring doorbell, it makes it look white at night. Now, I just laid out very crystal clear reasons as to why something might look that way, but they can't get it. They can't wrap their head around it. I hope that you all know what I'm trying to explain, because if you've been in that situation, I feel like that's a relatively accurate way when you can hear that chuckle. That chuckle is all you need to know about it. Going into the Hive Mind finds, I noticed this. Somebody had posted this on the 17th. So, geez, almost a week ago. But I was scrolling up looking for some for the Idaho 4, since we've been talking about Charlie Kirk recently. And I don't know how I missed this in the chat. And if you all saw this in the chat, Lana had said, Ann Taylor allegedly contacted the Innocent Project. My source is pretty solid. And Cat's Mojo had submitted that. Now, there's been rumblings about the Innocence Projects. I've shown like a DNA specialist from Idaho that I believe was talking about either submitting it to the Innocence Project or backing some form of the Innocence Project. If I was running the Innocence Project, and this is a legitimate, straightforward case, I'd be licking my chops waiting to get this case, because I'd be like, this is going to be the best. This is going to be the best and biggest turnaround of a wrongful conviction that we've ever seen. And I know like Sherlock had said that a couple weeks ago. There's a lot of people that have been saying it. Now, this is interesting.
Okay, so this is where at 3:03 in the video, you will hear the police radio in the background, and you'll hear the actual first responder or whatever to the scene saying en route. 220. Okay, now we're at 3 minutes and 51 seconds, and you're going to hear Dylan tell the 911 operator that there is police there right now.
There's a police here right now. Okay. If there's a defibrillator available for...
Okay, so at 4:01 in the video, you will hear the police radio in the background saying, not conscious, not breathing. And then, I forgot to mention this in the last video, but at 4:05, you'll hear Dylan ask the officer that's on scene if he has a defibrillator, and he replies, yep.
Do you have a defibrillator? Yes, you have one. Are you talking to the officer? Yes.
Okay, so as you can see too, that she was asked again if she was talking to the officer, and she replied yes.
You have one. Are you talking to the officer? Yes. Okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there with you and can help you. Okay, thank you. Bye. Okay. 11:59.
Okay, so you heard that the call ended at 11:59 and 49 seconds. Okay, so now we're at the body cam footage of the first responding officer on scene. The first officer on scene responding to this call. Hello, you see what time it is? 12 o'clock and 6 seconds.
Hang on. Condensed sleep. Time on different body cams do not have to be synchronized. This ain't Star Trek. I'm confused. What do you mean the time on different... You're saying that each officer's body cam time does not have to be synchronized. I don't know if that's what you mean. So I'm giving that the benefit of the doubt as to what you mean, because kind of like what Luna said, like the time is a time, and if it's on a body cam, they should all be the same. You're saying they don't sync it to the 911 center. That seems like an easy fix, and it seems like that should be synced up, right? If I'm not saying that is not the case. I didn't know that a 911 call center wouldn't be lined up with the body cams of their officers in the field. That seems like that would be an absolute nightmare, diving back through anything ever. So you're going to say the call came in at, how would that ever be accurate then? Right. I get what you guys are saying, that the body cam and the dispatch center might not be the same, but that seems like yeah, it just seems like one would think they would have to be. Because what if they're, I mean, being off by just a few seconds, like imagine if someone's on the phone with a 911 operator and the cop's body cam is ahead and that person on the phone gets killed, but because that cop's body cam is ahead and they would say, well, the cop was on scene, but they weren't because their body cam was ahead. That's a huge liability, right? Okay. So this is interesting. Now, Taylor, thank you so much for the super chat. Taylor, can you explain why that is? Did that ever cause confusion? So Taylor said, I used to be a dispatcher. The time in the center was always a few minutes behind the actual time. But in this situation, it's the opposite, which maybe that does happen. Now, hot mess success. That's funny how you spelled that. X-dispatch, all computer system. I'm sorry. X-dispatch, all computer items were synced the same. Only clock and center, manual, or our personal cells were slightly different. See? That's crazy.
Where's she at? Yep. Where's she at? Where's she at?
I don't know. It has to come back to the times being off, which then also just messes up my brain because I can't wrap my head around the fact that a 911 dispatch center wouldn't have the same time as the body cams, but apparently that's relatively normal. Angie said, when I worked in dispatch, my time in dispatch was the correct time. They all had to check my time to get the correct time. Okay. But you worked in a small town. Well, Moscow is not that big of a town. So, and Carrie says, ex-officer here. Okay. I love whenever we have people that actually did this for a living. So thank you, Carrie, for the comment. We always received our report times from dispatch. We would call dispatch to get the time to write in the report when we sat down to write the reports. Okay. So there seems to be some sort of protocol that's in place when the reports go in. But doesn't that seem just, I understand what you're saying, Carrie, but doesn't that seem to be like a giant headache? Great conversation. I learned something new today. But anyways, let's go through these new photos, Hive. I'm going to go ahead and make this full screen. So these are the new photos. There's 602 of them. There's not anything that's, I guess from what I've seen, just quickly kind of going through them, that crazy. Let's all agree that body cams being off is not okay. Right. That does make sense. That would be a huge selling point. That'd be a giant feature and benefit. And like I'm saying, if there's anybody that has deep pockets in the Hive that wants to fund a 100% or 99.9% accurately synced time with the dispatch center, let's talk. Somebody said camel 80s, baby. Who was that, Phoenix? Got the blood over here. You know what I don't understand about all these photos, Hive? Why are they releasing them in such separate batches? We've seen all of these outside pictures. Don't you think that these would all be, like, if you're going to release batches of it, wouldn't it be like batches of the vehicles in the exterior of the property, batches of the living room and kitchen, like bathrooms? Instead, now it's like, you got Koberger's apartment mixed into some, Koberger's office, Koberger's this. And then it's like, and now we've seen just different angles of these photos that have been however many times and for how long. And this is my first time seeing like all of these photos. I was just going through quickly. Are they really blacking out tampons? Is that what they're doing? how is like what would be worthy of blacking out tampons if that's what that is? That's the only thing I could think of. Like the top of a box, like right here. Oh my God, dude, Les, that would be wild if it was a pregnancy test. Ooh, I could see why you'd block that out. Is this a pill? Or like a hole punch? They said this was an animal cracker. That's wild if they said that. And it's interesting how it's only in that one picture. Yeah, an animal cracker that'll make you dance all night. That's what I was thinking, Howard. Oh, there's someone in the chat named Animal Cracker. If that's the case and I misunderstood that, 1111, I will clown horn myself. That's hilarious. Oh, there is. My bad. Wow. Is that a golf tee? Right. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Zozie, however you pronounce that. I apologize. You guys rock with the super chats. And Jeremy said, thanks for opening minds and looking deep into this case, Birdie and Hive. Well, thank you, Jeremy, for tuning in. You've always left great comments, and thank you so much for the super chat. When I was talking to George Webb as I'm scrolling through here, it was really cool to hear him say, he tunes in to the Hive for Idaho case. And, it says a lot about everybody in the chat too, because there's a lot of stuff that I'll say that completely dictates the flow of a stream based on how engaged the chat is. Or like we've had many streams where one comment in the Hive or from the Hive makes the entire stream and takes it in a completely different direction. So I know I'm not 100% the best at checking the chat, especially when I have guests on, but when it's streams like this and we're diving into stuff, I really do try to have, my eyes kind of on both tabs that I have open, one being the chat, one being the photos. So thank you. An OG Hiver from TikTok. Thank you, Blue Rain. I absolutely agree. They release photos of nothing. Like this is just, again, it seems like we're being insulted. And that sounds weird to say that, but it's like, guys, this case, does anybody know the timeline of exactly what happened? Like there's some people that are saying like they know what happened, they know who did it, and yet all the theories and what they've showed, it makes sense, but it's just like, how is this such a quote mystery? Like, see that? Thank you, Blue-Eyed Candy. You rock. KS Chess and Art, thank you so much for the super chat. You guys rock. As long as you guys keep tuning in, I won't stop doing this. I'd probably be doing this whether or not I was streaming live or just probably diving into stuff, staying up way too late anyways. So thank you so much. Now, I do have a tinfoil hat conspiracy of the day. That's a little bit of a teaser. And this is for an upcoming stream with Devil's Advocates, and it's on if Hitler faked his death. We threw that out there kind of at the end of the last stream. With that, Hive, thank you again to everybody that did tune in, not just for this stream, but the one this morning with George Webb. I will be live tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Central. Hit that subscribe or that follow button if you are over on X. If you got Rumble and you want to follow me, I'm not going to stream there probably for a couple of days, but it's Birdie_Hive Mind. And as always, Hive, I hope you all have a great night's rest. Get up, crush the day tomorrow, and I will see you here back in the Hive, 7 p.m. Central. Cheers.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.